Hello and welcome. Meet JKM165V, better known as Leo the Leopard. Leo was new to Maidstone and District in 1980 and later passed to Hastings and District. On the whole, I am reasonably happy with the way that it looks. I'm fortunate that Neil, the previous owner of 165, did a lot of work on it before he decided to pass it on to me. But there are a few bits and pieces that need attention. The inside seats are very threadbare, and most of the window rubbers have seen better days. And that white around the middle, well, that really should be cream. But I guess I am just nitpicking now. One part of Leo that I did want to spruce up was the back end. Between the boot and the rear window there is a plastic illuminated sign, and it would have had the fleet name on it originally. However, when I got Leo, it was just plain, as you can see in this picture. What you can't see is that the window rubber that holds it in was absolutely perished. Now, most of you will know that the chassis of a Leyland Leopard ends just beyond the rear axle. So the boot and the rear structure has to be self-supporting. Did you hear that, Eastern Coachworks? So any water leaking in from a shot window rubber, such as the one around this sign, could cause severe corrosion and weaken the structure. Now, the state of Leo's boot isn't pretty, to be honest, and it will at some point in the not so distant future need a complete rebuild. And while I don't use it to carry passengers' suitcases, it does still have a spare tyre in it and a few spare seat cushions. And I'd rather keep those with me than leave them behind on the King's Highway. So I decided to replace the window rubber that held it all in, and at the same time upgrade the sign. The first step was to remove it all, and of course that is always the easiest part, isn't it? I covered it all over in plastic because despite being the summer, you just can't guarantee, and as soon as you do anything, it's going to rain, isn't it? The next step was to take the piece of Perspex home and give it a good old scrub up. As you can see, the window rubber had rotted onto it and had left a horrible gunky mark around the outside of it. It's quite surprising how dirty this sign actually was, despite the amount of times that we bathed Leo. But then anyone who's washed a coach normally gets wetter than the coach itself, so maybe that's the reason why the sign was so dirty. When it was finally clean and I'd managed to get it dry, it was time to apply the vinyl that I'd bought. Now, it's always going to be hard to try and find the right colour match for a piece of vinyl versus a bit of paint from a 1980s coach. Especially a 1980s coach that's probably faded quite a lot over the intervening years. But I was quite pleased with this, and it's not too bad a match. When cutting vinyl like this, the knack is to make sure that you have a very steady hand, lots of time, and a very sharp knife. Once it's cut to size, it's the application stage. Now, this is the bit that can go horribly wrong, and you can get lots of air bubbles in it if you don't do it properly. Many years ago, when I was the operations manager of Eastern Ways at Ramsgate, I had the glamorous job of applying the adverts to the back of the buses. They were also cut from vinyl, and the guy who taught me how to do it took the backing paper off. He sprayed the sticky part of the advert with soapy water. He sprayed the panel on the bus with soapy water, and then put the advert on the bus, and this allowed them to move the advert around, get it straight, get it into position, and then just used a rubber blade to bleed all the water and air bubbles out. It's a bit like doing a water slide transfer from one of those Airfix kits, if you remember those. And once the water's all out and it all dries out, the adhesive on the back of the vinyl sticks like anything to the panel of the bus. And you end up with a very straight, level advert in the place that you want it and no air bubbles, which is perfect. However, on this particular sign, I was doing this dry. And once it was all applied, it was time to add the lettering. Sometimes I make the lettering up myself out of vinyl, but the font used for the Hastings and District fleet name is quite intricate. So I got it made up commercially from a local sign maker's, and it was probably the most expensive part of the whole project, if I'm honest. And with that done and the GB stickers added, it's time to put the completed unit back into the coach with new window rubber. Now there's one thing I hadn't realised. I've done quite a few windows on coaches and buses over the years, but this was a very, very small area, and it's plastic being put into the back end of Leo, which is also plastic. And that made everything flex in opposition to everything else, which made it really hard to put it in. I found all sorts of swear words that I didn't even realise that I knew. Although glass has flexibility as well, it was much more rigid than the Perspex. I just had to then put in the filler strip using a specialist tool that you can buy on eBay. Other online marketplaces are available. And again, the secret here is to use lots of soapy water. I had a trigger bottle and it was filled with washing up liquid and water, and that really did help an awful lot. And that really is it. Not the most interesting of bus videos, admittedly, but it's always good to show what goes on behind the scenes, and behind the coach, to be fair. Water now doesn't get into the boot, and Leo has hit the road again, looking better than ever. Once the winter is over, I will set to and replace the front destination blind window rubber, because that's just as leaky as the back one was. And then I will have to get started on those pesky leaky skylights as well. I'm already consulting a dictionary to learn more swear words that are appropriate to the job. I do hope you enjoyed this little behind the scenes video. I've always enjoyed showing people the work that goes on keeping preserved buses and coaches on the road. And even if replacing window rubbers isn't the most glamorous of jobs, it's one of those essential jobs to do. If you did enjoy this video, please like and share it. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss out on my future video releases. Talking of video releases, if you go to my channel, there's all sorts of bus related videos there for you to watch. There's lots of things on there for you to binge watch over these dark winter evenings. Who needs Amazon Prime, eh? Thank you very much for watching. Bye for now.